Hello, everyone. Good morning, if it happens to be morning where you are. My name is Anna Rue, and I'm a folklorist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm very excited to be co-hosting with fellow folklorist Marcus Sederstrom today's presentation and performance by Liz Jaakola. For those of you joining us for the first time as part of this year-long and virtual FinFest, welcome. I want to open by thanking all of you for being here and give a great thanks to FinFest for organizing this wonderful series of events, and also the Center for the Study of Upper Midwestern Cultures, where I am based at UW-Madison, and the Sustaining Scandinavian Folk Arts in the Upper Midwest project, also known as Nordic Folklife, which I'm also a part of. We are proud to be co-sponsoring this performance and 4 additional events in the Finnish American music series throughout 2021. We have just over 100 people here today supporting FinFest and Finnish American music, which is really exciting to see. And we'll be making some links available to you all so you can follow up for more about FinFest events, the Sustaining Scandinavian Folk Arts in the Upper Midwest project, and the Center for the Study of Upper Midwestern Cultures. This is a live program held on the Zoom webinar platform. That means that the presenters cannot see or hear the audience members, and the audience members can't see or hear each other. We will have time for questions at the end, and you can use the Q&A button located at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions you have. And I will then share those questions with the presenter at the end. We'll be recording the session today and then sharing it through the FinFest website, as well as the YouTube channel for the Center for the Study of Upper Midwestern Cultures at UW-Madison. And we'll share that link information with you all after the program. And now I'm going to hand it over to Marcus to introduce today's presentation of Liz Jaakola and Finnishinaabe fusion.
My name is Marcus Sederstrom. Like Anna said, I'm a folklorist here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I actually want to start. So we were talking with Liz a couple days ago, and she mentioned a new book, Hungry Listening, by an Indigenous scholar, Dylan Robinson. And it just so happened that Dr. Robinson was then presenting yesterday for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So I was able to pop in on that. And he was talking about a lot of fantastic things. He was talking about positionality, and he was talking about notice, and he was talking about where we are and who we are. But he also mentioned something that I think is worth kind of starting with now. And he was talking about land acknowledgements and how at a lot of places, at a lot of universities, they become very common, almost bureaucratic. The University of Wisconsin-Madison sits on Ho-Chunk land. There are mounds on that land. And we talk about that, and then we move on a little too quickly sometimes. So I wanted to start by asking all of you to think about where you are. Think about who was there before you, who is there now, what was there before you, what is there now, and who will be there after you're gone. I think it's a good thing to be thinking about as we move into Liz's presentation, especially today. And Finnishinaabe fusions. So with that, as Liz presents, as Liz talks, and as Liz performs, be thinking about where you are, your own kind of positionality, both geographical, but who you are. So with that, I want to go ahead and introduce Liz. Liz Jaakola, or Jaakola sometimes, is a Anishinaabe Finnish American and Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Chippewa member. She's an experienced music educator. She's an activist. She's a musician. She's a city council person. She's a children's book writer. I mean, she kind of does it all. She performs regularly for public media, for festivals. She's recorded 6 different CDs. She's had music in local films, in video, in television, including the Emmy-awarded PBS documentary Wasa Inabira. She's mentored Native youth. She's, as you'll see, she's an incredible person today. She's also recently been involved with a Finnish author and documentarian working on a Finnish documentary, Fintianet, which was produced for Finnish TV back in 2019. She's been back and forth then from Minnesota and Finland, and building these connections. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Liz for today's presentation and performance.
Bonjour nindoi magalidak, hyvää päivää. Nitala gamakoi nindigenicause, migizi nindodem, nagaji warong nindonjabam, midday koi ndao, nimin wendam oma. I'm happy to be here. I usually say my English name, but really it's my Finnish American name is Liz Jaakola. And my Indian name is the lady that knows how to sing. I said I'm Eagle Clan. I also mentioned that I'm living at Fond du Lac Reservation. This is where I am right now in my little home office. And I also said that I am Midewin, which is, I guess one might say our belief system, our religion maybe here for the Ojibwe people. And I usually introduce myself in Ojibwe because I'm not only introducing myself to, whoever is, paying attention in this way, but also then to the place to kind of announce like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to speak on behalf of, myself and my family, in hopes that all the ancestors are then paying attention and helping me to do my best, to put my best, self forward, because honestly, I need all the help I can get. And at the beginning of doing something like this, I usually utilize some of our local medicines. And so like I lit a smudge before I started in a little shell, and some sage and some sweetgrass and some cedar. And really that's kind of where I first started thinking about how Finnish people, Finnish traditions, and Ojibwe traditions share things is, around our plants. And when I started to look more into that information about this birch band around the earth, that of course, when the Finnish Americans, before they were Finnish Americans, came to this side of the planet, they came to places that looked familiar, that felt familiar, that they knew how to use the plants. And that, that's one thing that kind of binds the peoples together, I think. So I used some cedar, with that in mind. I'm going to start with a song because a lot of the work I do is through using my voice, and it helps to center me. Again, kind of being humble and inviting the assistance. So this song I'm going to sing, I'm going to use my hand drum. And this hand drum is, I call it my winter hand drum. And we're kind of transitioning. We just had snow again last night though. So this drum is sounding its voice pretty nicely. So, oh, the dog might bark. He's singing too. This song is called the New Day Song. It's a song that was made by a group of women and myself for opening things, for starting things. Yahweh, 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 So I think I shorted you a part of that song. When I usually sing lately with a group of women, and we all kind of keep each other on track. And singing by myself in my office, it's easy to kind of be like, oh, I started to daydream a little, think about what it was I'm doing and trying to plan in my head. Because when I'm singing, it like brings all that energy together, right? And it starts to try to focus my mind, and that's the purpose of our songs, is to bring people together, to draw into, to grab attention maybe from, you know, what other people are doing. They look and they say, oh, there's somebody singing over here, the drums are singing, what is happening? And so then it starts to bring people in, right? And also ourselves as singers starts to create a focus, a focal point from which then we do our work. And Ojibwe people, Anishinaabe people, we're not the only ones that do that. Humans around the globe have sung with drums. Music is a human expression. Someone might say a human right to use our voices. And this is true also in Finnish heritage, which I'm learning more about as I get older. I think the first time I was able to participate in FinFest as a presenter might have been like 20 years ago or something. I'm getting up there. I'm not yet an elder. I'm 52, so in my tribe that's considered a baby elder. So I can't yet, you know, sound all wise and whatever. But but when I first started participating in FinFest as a presenter, I had like a slideshow of my family, and I showed like various you know, grandparents, great grandparents, and then talking about my my immediate family. And after that point, more people started to talk to me about different things, and over the last however many years, then I've been able to travel and learn more about Finnish history and heritage, and also some about Sami. I was able to travel to Sapmi and learn some things there, and finding that, you know, even though we think that, you know, nations are separate, humans are very unified in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is through singing and using drums. So I have an outline here. I'm going to try and stick to it. So my mom and dad. My mom is Ojibwe here from Fond du Lac Reservation. And my dad is a Finnish American whose their family homesteaded in the middle of the reservation. And in the late 1800s, there was a process that the United States government enacted called allotment through the Dawes Act, which is a whole nother lecture, and I'm not going to go there, but generally it parsed out the remaining reserved lands. And so from our reservation, we have about 100,000 acres, like a rectangle. And in the midst of it, there were parcels that were then held up for the highest, you know, bidder to come and buy, homestead on them. So that's what my dad's family did. And so he grew up alongside all of my Ojibwe relatives, as well as then, you know, his family, his siblings, you know, out just 7 miles from where I sit right now. And that's what I knew growing up. I knew that my Ojibwe relatives referred to me as a Findian, not always in a nice way. And my Finnish relatives referred to me as the Indian girl, you know, and again, not always in a nice way. But most of the time we got along really well, and we had family gatherings, and people didn't necessarily, you know, bring it up that there was this mixed ancestry. So for me growing up, that mix was being normal, you know. And my sister has passed on, but her dad, she had a different dad than mine, but we were still very much close with that family, and they were all musicians. They would bring their guitars and the fiddle and the mandolin to family gatherings, and that's where I would sit. And I learned at the feet of those men. And so they're uncles, and their last name was Willette, the Willette family. And so I would sit with them and learn, you know, all the old country songs and Highway Number 7. And if you're not hip to Highway Number 7, there was a radio program off the range. Now I'm forgetting the name of the guy, Bobby. Well, I almost had it, but this song called Highway Number 7, which was kind of poking fun at the Finnish American experience. But it was good, you know, and so that's gonna bother me now. I'm gonna try and remember his name. But we also, you know, sang, you know, standards, you know, like Johnny Cash and, you know, a variety of types of things, Christmas songs. And then sometimes my mom's family would take us to powwows. But back when I was a kid, that was like not as Bobby Arrow, thank you. All right. But I didn't, the powwows were not quite the same kind of a phenomenon that they are today. They were different in the 1970s. And so it wasn't like everyone had a powwow to go to every weekend like they do now. Like, you know, well, aside from COVID, you could find a powwow anywhere, you know, any weekend. So my musical ancestry was mixed, is my whole point here. And it was, you know, not necessarily mixed together, but in my mind it was, and in my experience it was. There were times where things would kind of dance, you know, with each other. And sometimes there were musical moments that, you know, helped me to understand things better. And I studied music as a kid. I studied piano and violin and and flute and voice then when I got to be a little bit older. And my goal was then to be an opera singer. And I studied classically in college, and my family encouraged me. Once they realized it wasn't just a phase, they realized that this was something I really wanted to do. And so I studied music to get a bachelor's in vocal performance. And then the reservation needed a music teacher and I needed a job. And so I started teaching music. And at that point, that was when I started to really look more into like the musicology of musics. Because teaching at a tribal school, American music curriculum, you know, there were lots of opportunities for, you know, mixing and blending. So I started to like write some of my own thoughts and expressions during that time. And so this, I'll sing this song that is kind of a mix. It's in English. It tells a little bit of my story, and then it has these vocables. The vocables are the non-word part. The whole song I did last time was in vocables, and those are songs that predate, you know, languages. Before we started to be separate peoples by language, we sang to each other in what musicologists now call vocables. Just, you know, we sang whatever, and that's how we started to understand each other as peoples. You know, as through our sounds. So here's the song called Voices. When I was a little child, I heard a voice softly say, listen to me, I'll never be far away. I'll never be far away. So listen to me. As I listened, I heard the voices strangers from many places. They said, walk with me, I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Come walk with me. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. As I walked, I heard the stories. They talked of ways of caring, ways of sharing, the ways of my people. They said, sing with me, I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Come sing with me. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey. Now they're shouting. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, oh. Dance with me, I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. I'll never be far away. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Come dance with me. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. I was trying to remember that if I sing really loud, it'll clip out the mic. So I hope it didn't clip out the mic. I can really give her in that high part, you know. So I was like, whoa. So you know, that tells kind of my story, and it continues to unfold for me, this story. You know, when I wrote that, whatever, probably like 1992, back in the last century, you know, I kind of thought, well, here, this is the point at which, you know, I'm putting things together and, you know, singing and dancing, but it continues to unfold. And it's because our ancestors are always with us, all of them. So the ancestors that are, you know, for me, the Ojibwe, my mom's family also has some Polish ancestry. There's also some African ancestry. There's also some then Finnish from my dad, you know, and we think some Sami, like they're always with us. And they're guiding us to do whatever it is that we're supposed to do over here, which sometimes we never really know, right? We just kind of stay open and follow whatever faith path we follow, even if it's just a faith in tomorrow. And we follow that and do the best that we can, hoping to be good people while we do it, right? And so in that song, you know, I feel connected to, of course, my you know, my dad and my mom, but also their parents and the great grandparents and the great grandparents that go all the way back. With you know, the technology today and like 23andMe and Ancestry.com and all of those kind of things, I've been able to look at the Finnish family back to, I think it's like 1740 or something like this. And I can't remember the name, but his name's Eric. This is, I remember the first name. Yeah, you know, Eric. And in 1740, and it's all the way over on what we would consider now to be like the eastern side of Finland. But back then, you know, there were different boundaries and different lines of nationhood. Generally, though, in that area that now, you know, we consider Karelia, and so I was able to, you know, like reconnect there because those ancestors are always guiding us. And so apparently I wasn't, you know, maybe ready or you know, I wasn't moving in that direction fast enough, because they sent some Finnish ladies over here to meet my family. And it was like 2013 maybe, or 2014. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look at my notes. But they came, and it was Maria Seppala, Katja Kettu, and Meri Kautoniemi. And they were doing a story about Findians. And apparently, because of the internet, I had written Findian on something probably from FinFest that I was involved with. And they found me, and they said, you know, they first messaged me, and we talked, I think, on the phone. And they said, we're looking for, you know, Findians. We're wanting to do some kind of a story, and would you help us to find Findians? And I said, yeah. I said, there's a lot. There are many people who could identify as Findian, and whether they do or not, I don't know. But and there are many who do. So we started talking. They came over to visit, and I thought that they were like grad students or something. So me being a teacher for, you know, now almost 30 years, like I was wanting to help them. Oh, these grad students are coming over, and you know, they can, yeah, you can use our camper and we'll take you to all the places, you know. And they were able to meet many people like Arnie Vainio and Becky and Jim Gawboy and Carl Gawboy and like all the famous Findians, and talked to us. And they came again another year, the following summer, and I thought, oh, gee, these grad students are really, you know, giving it, you know. And then when it came time for the book to be released, here I have it here. The Fintianien Mailla. My Finnish is not so good, but when it came time for this book to be released, they said, Liz, we're going to have this book released. Will you come and help us celebrate? You know, and I thought it was going to be like, you know, we'd like go to Barnes and Noble or something, you know, and have a little coffee there in the coffee shop. And, you know, when I got there, I realized how well connected these ladies were. Katja Kettu is a famous novelist in Finland. Maria Seppala works with Yle, the main television network in Helsinki, and Meri Kautoniemi is a famous photographer. And here I, you know, never even thought, I mean, you know, I don't know anything. So, and they were kind enough, you know, to tell our story in this awesome book, and then to invite me over to help them, you know, to celebrate. And I was, it was very cool. And I got to tell, you know, my story over there a little bit. I was able to speak in the American Embassy in Helsinki and really do like kind of an official little presentation. And, you know, it was because those ladies, you know, were interested in Findians. And it was really a cool experience. Probably my favorite part of it was where I was practicing with the guitar. They had a guitar player there for me to work with. And we were practicing in the front room of a sauna in the middle of the day, and people were coming in and out to do their sauna, you know, and here we are singing. And I was wearing like buckskin regalia, and I had my drum, and we're like in this front room, and people are walking through looking like, what are these people doing? Why is there an Indian in my sauna? And it was very funny. But so I was singing this song, but imagine it with a guitar. It wasn't written with the guitar, but we arranged it with the guitar. And this song is called Idle No More, and it is from a good friend of mine named Purafe Krishoni, who worked with Carrie Morin. And there was a movement called Idle No More that began in Canada, trying to draw attention to the issues facing Indigenous people in North America. And of course, as we know, things have you know, evolved since that point, where Standing Rock grew out of that, and now we're facing other environmental challenges. My tribe is kind of at the epicenter of one of those challenges with Line 3 and then the issues of polymet mining. My tribe just won a court case keeping the mining from getting a permit. So this song is Idle No More. Way oh hey oh hey oh hey sisters idle no more. We walk in the light with our brothers and sisters. We stand and fight for the drama, song, no prayer, this change of time. This is a true reckoning, a human awakening. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. Well, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah, oh, hey, oh, hey, ah. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah. Hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. People come by the hundreds, sing and dance in streets of shopping malls, to the corners and capitals and city halls. All over this little island, our presence will break the silence. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. Well, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah, oh, hey, oh, hey, ah. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Hey, ah, well, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, oh. Hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah, hey, oh, hey, ah. Together, brothers and sisters, idle no more. I need to drink wine. So, after that book release, then Maria Sepola wanted to do a documentary, and I wasn't still really tracking. Like I thought, wow, that was amazing. I got to go to Helsinki, help them with the book. Then what are the chances? I'm a really busy person in my life here on the ground on the reservation. I teach college at our tribal college, and I have 3 kids. Now are 21 and 14 and 8. My parents are still alive, living right next door. I live an acre from them. We live kind of in the woods. Well, it's getting to be more and more less woods-like over the time, yeah. And so there's a lot on my plate. So, tracking what the ladies were doing, like, of course I was paying attention, but maybe not as closely as I should have been. So Maria said, we're going to come back and we're going to shoot some more video. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And they came back with a couple of camera people, and they shot some video here. They shot some video of the other Indians that they spoke with that were in the book. I forgot to mention Jaakolas and Amos Mackey and some of the other folks. And my son got to shoot camera. One of my jobs at the college is to run a studio to help young people learn how to use the tools of digital media, audio and video. And so my son was a student there for a little bit, and so he knows how to run camera. So he got to run camera on their documentary, which is kind of cool. And then, I didn't think much about it until they said, well, it's going to be airing in April 2019. And what? I'm coming. Can I come? And they said, yeah, we'd love to have you come. I said, okay. So I scraped my pennies together and I flew over there and told my boss, I'm like, how often is this going to happen in my life? Not very. So I'm going. So I went over and we got to celebrate that. We got to watch it, as it aired on the national television station there. And it was very cool. I felt very special. And we got to do a performance, and we got to kind of open myself with a guitar player whose name now I can't remember either because I'm all hyped up. I'll think of his name. He's a great guitar player, super nice guy. And so we were opening for the this other band that like does this weird mix, not weird, great mix of like reggae and ska and rock and rap, and it was a hot sauna. No, Hannibal's hot, yeah. So and it was really cool. And then you know, I was sad because I was only there for the opening for like a few days, you know, and I had to come back, and I'm starting to like really, you know, like feel like I should spend more time there so I could get to know, you know, the city. And they put me up in this great little apartment right on the train track there in town. And I got to, they have great gluten-free food in Finland, which I'm celiac, so I was like so grateful. Everywhere I went, you could get gluten-free, which doesn't always happen here in the States. And then while I was there, somebody phoned and talked with Maria and Katya and said that they wanted me to participate in their music festival that would be in August 2019, and it was for Finn Tango Festival. And I know some people are aware that the Finns love tango, and that they love the Finnish tango, which has kind of grown into its own, you know, genre. And so there's a festival that celebrates this. And I didn't realize there was a festival, but I learned quickly that, yeah, it's a festival that goes on in, you know, various communities. I think it was based out of Germany when I was there. But they wanted me to come participate in the part that would be in Ukoniemi. And I said, sure, why not? You know, like, that sounds great. And the girls were like, well, Liz, you don't even know these people. They're asking you to come to this festival. I said, right, but I didn't really know you either until now I know you. But long story short, I got to go to Ukoniemi and sing for this festival, this Finnish Tango Festival. And they have a sauna village as part of the Finn Tango Festival. And they have a variety of sauna experiences. One would be like your standard, you know, like older sauna. But they had also tent sauna, and they had like a mobile sauna that was on wheels. And some years they have one that's on the water. They didn't have it the year I was there, but they, you know, and so it was really amazing experience. And I was like 1 kilometer from the Russian border there over at Ukoniemi. Maybe when we took the boat, I might have went over there into Russia for a minute. But I got to meet Pirkko Filman, who is she's become well known for a type of singing that's called lament singing. That comes out of the Orthodox tradition. And it was a tradition that the women were in charge of, that women did this lament singing. And somehow, I think through Timo Valtonen, he was the organizer of Finn Tango, he knows Pirkko. And so I was able to go meet with her in her living room. I mean, my life, you know, sometimes so surprising. And it was beautiful to learn about this lament singing tradition. And she said, you know, I think some of what you're doing is similar, you know, to what the lament singing is. And, you know, we kind of talked about the similarities of women's singing traditions and how, you know, they have sometimes in modern history taken a back seat to, you know, male-dominated singing traditions. And especially when it comes to things like change of life kind of things, you know, rites of passage, that the women were often in charge of those types of things, you know, birthing, of course, but then also going, you know, when people got married or people, even when they were passing, that they're singing traditions. So it was really awesome to talk with her about that kind of thing. And then the drum was an interesting connection as well. There was a lady who came there to Ukoniemi who said that her grandmother used to sing with a drum, but it became kind kind of taboo for them to even have their drums. And I know the same thing is true for Sami, where the drums were taken from them, and they were destroyed, or then people who did do the drumming and singing were had to kind of go underground or stop doing it. And the same thing is true for Ojibwe music, of course. Ojibwe drums were also taken and put into museums or destroyed. And so, me coming there with my drum, even though I'm a, Finnish American Ojibwe girl, lady, okay, I'm not a girl anymore, going over there singing on the shores of the water there at Okanimi, this lady who came said, I'm going to start singing with my drum too. She said, it's time that these traditions come back. And I was just like so touched by that. I thought, okay, if that's why I came here, if that's what brought me here, if the ancestors brought me here at this point, just to spark that little fire for this lady to sing her drum, then it was all absolutely worth it. Other amazing things happened there where I was able to, there was an old, what we would call a grandfather stone that was right next to where I was staying, and so of course I noticed him, and we put offerings out, like tobacco offerings, so I put tobacco offerings out there at that grandfather stone. And at the end of my stay, or nearing the end, they told me about the importance of this stone, that was like a landmarker for people when they're traveling through, that they would often stop at that stone. And so of course, like the pricklies up the back of the neck, right? Like, oh, like maybe this is, how I ended up here at this very spot. I don't know if Eric from 1740 or others might have, had been there, but I definitely felt connected, and I felt very privileged to be able to be in that place at that time. I'm looking at my time, and I'm looking at my outline. So let's see, what did I talk about? Yeah, I talked about that. So I think maybe I think my talking about Pirko was this lament singing that I'm gonna sing. Lament singing is without any accompaniment, and I made this song about America and how we are all connected, and there's no drum, there's no accompaniment. I am an Indian girl. My ancestors left me this world. I am a sister on this earth. Children pass through with joyous births. I give and I get, history's mystery. I am a part of your circle. I am a white girl. My ancestors left me this world. I am an auntie on this earth. My children pass through with joyous births. I write and I tell of the wonder of wonders. I am a part of your circle. I am an Asian girl. My ancestors left me this world. I am a mother on this earth. My children pass through with joyous births. I speak and I sing a philosophy from me. I am a part of your circle. I am An African girl, my ancestors left me this world. I am a grandmother, I am a grandmother, a mother, an auntie, a sister on this earth. Our children pass through with joyous birth. I dance and I pray, I dance and I pray, I dance and pray and dance and pray for empirical miracles. I am a part of your circle. I am America's girl. Our ancestors left us this world. I am. I have all of these instruments behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but they're like ringing when I finished that. That was really cool. There's some metallophones back there, so they're like, they're like singing chorus. That was awesome. Okay, so like what what do we have in in the future? Like we have this past, we have this there's different things we're doing. We have the present, things that our ancestors are asking us to do this work, nudging us, things that we think are just like whatever instinct or impulse, or the work that we do. And I talked a little bit about the environmental challenges here. I know the same thing is happening over in Finland. I know the same thing is happening in Sapmi. Same thing is happening in South America. Like there's so many environmental challenges bringing us this climate change that hopefully leaderships are now starting to take a look in the right direction to make decisions to help navigate our way through this change of time. And that my kids is what come to mind, and I think that's true for everybody. Thinking about our children, and then the grandchildren, and the children yet to come, and how is it that we help ourselves and others understand that it requires us to work together, and it requires us to think outside ourselves, to maybe sometimes of discomfort, that maybe we won't be able to have all of the bells and whistles and toys that we think are so necessary, and encouraging other people to also to think the same and to make decisions in the right way, so that we can look at a future. And there's this moment. So I was strongly encouraged last spring, about this time, to run for city council here in Cloquet. And I wasn't going to. I was like, okay, maybe because I ran 2 years before that as like kind of not a whim, but kind of like some people said, hey, you should run for that open seat because a guy left the seat. Okay, yeah, and I did, and and I didn't get it because it was half-hearted kind of attempt. And then I thought, well, I'll do it in 2020. But then with the pandemic, I thought maybe not. Maybe I'll just sit this out and keep an eye on my own, bobber, like my own bubble really needs me to be mom and daughter right now. So that's what I'll do. However, with the events in Minneapolis of George Floyd's murder, and I thought, if I don't run, who will? And so I was very much encouraged to run for city council, and then I won the election, and I was very much of course happy because that was the goal, but I was also a little surprised because I wasn't so certain it was going to go that way. And now I sit on the Cloquet City Council, and I have I have to bring all of me to that job, just like I bring all of me to every job. And I think it's really what helped me to win the election was that I acknowledged, yeah, I'm a tribal member for Fond du Lac, but I'm also Finnish American, and we have so much in common. We, our ancestry has so much in common. This is why we came here. If we're Finnish, or if we're Swedish or Norwegian or whoever the ancestors are, we came here to this place because we recognize the beauty, the resources, the people. Like, we recognize that we could work together in this place, and we're faring pretty well in terms of those types of things, working together when we work together. And so I wanted to maintain that, and like I said, bring my whole self to that position. So I think I'm going to wrap up with a guitar song. I'm all right on time, huh? Okay. I think the older I get, the better I get at measuring time. It's probably because I have more experience with the clock, right? I used to fight it when I was a kid. All right, this guitar was in the living room. I don't know. Okay, yeah. So this song is called Running Out of Indian Time. And there's like a joke about Indian time, but it's a real thing in many indigenous communities, because our original clocks, are the sun and the moon, and tracking those patterns, and the stars. So there's just like daytime, nighttime, not so clock or minute oriented. And so like when I'm going places, I'm not always so aware of that clock time. And when I'm late, I'll say I'm running on Indian time. I was running on Indian time. And it's kind of a thing, but it is a real thing. So this song came because I used to say it all the time, and my kid, we were late bringing him to school. I used to drive him into school every day. And I said, "Oh, we're late, son." And he said, "Oh, are we running out of Indian time again?" And I said, "No, but that's a great hook for a song. I said, if it makes millions, I'll cut you in on that contract." Well, anyway, that was a long time ago. He's 21 now. Maybe he was 7 then. We'll see if I remember it all. Have you ever been so blue and you don't know just what to do, and you feel like you are running out of Indian time? Well, I've been there, me, a time or two. I felt so low down, I felt my mind unglued. Even my grandmother says, "Baby, you are running out of Indian time." That old clock keep a ticking on the wall, and you're sitting here just thinking of drinking, and that's all. And you're hoping and you're praying for that telephone call, but it ain't coming no way. No, I need you, baby. Lying. Bring back that heart that you've been denying, 'cause I got a funny feeling that I'm running out of Indian time. If I had a band, they'd take a solo, but it's just me. Well, it's been that way since 14. 92, when Columbus he did sail that old ocean blue, and was sitting and talking and thinking and wondering just what to do, and it ain't changing no way. Now I need you people, and I ain't lying. Dig out that strength that you've been denying, 'cause I got a funny feeling that I am running out of engine. Got a funny feeling that I am running out of engine. Got a funny feeling that I am running out of engine. Running out of engine time. Right. Ooh. So I've got this music thing. I call it a music habit. That I have to make music, and I try to do what I can, when I can, how I can, and I just, the pandemic has brought about so many challenges and difficulties and tragedies, but also some cool things have happened. I was just contacted to help write a short operetta about Jaakola Shah, and that's coming up for me. There's something happening at Big Chautauqua on the north end of Wisconsin there. It's an Anishinaabe show with a number of Anishinaabe artists, and I get to participate in that as well. That'll be, I think in July is when that hits. The other one, the opera, will be virtual, and it will happen in August and September. We can just count our blessings and do what we can do and keep moving forward and following those opportunities that are put in front of us, no matter where they come from, but trusting that, our ancestors are helping us to find our way and be in the right place at the right time to be able to do those things in a good way. And I know that isn't bound by any ethnicity, that humans are working to do good things, no matter, what their belief system or their geographic location is. So I hope that I talked about some things that were relevant to what y'all are hoping I would say.
This was wonderful, Liz. Miigwech, Kitos, thank you so much. This was fantastic, really lovely. I think we're going to have some time for questions now. We've got a few that are coming in. But I wanted to quickly, I think there was someone was asking about the drumstick that you use. You talked a little bit about the drum, but could you also talk a little bit about the drumstick?
Yeah, this drumstick, from what I know about it, it was fashioned after it used to be like a warrior's stick. There would have been a stone in here, and also then the lacrosse game, creators game, they put a webbing here, and that it's like a lacrosse stick. So it was given to me, saying like, I'm a new kind of a warrior, right? I'm not using the stones, and I'm not on the lacrosse field, but I'm, bringing about peace, hopefully, because that's what warriors really are supposed to do, is to bring peace. I'm bringing about peace with music and education, and so that's what this drumstick signifies. And I adorned it with with red, because this is what they say, the color that our spirits readily see. Some people say it's the only color that spirits see is red. So I adorned it with that color. It's been with me a long time, this drumstick. I feel really close to it, but thanks for asking about it.
Thank you. We also have a question here from Jim Leary, Dr. Jim Leary. And he asks about your Findian Summer album. He notes that there's a song there, Toivo Two Feathers, and wonders if you could say a little about the song and a little bit about the inspiration for that song.
Yeah, Toivo Two Feathers. So this was a nickname that I had when I was a kid, when I would stay with my cousins, my Ojibwe cousins, who I think they had Norwegian in their family background. So anyway, so my uncle called me Toivo Two Feathers, and you know, and it was teasing, like that kind of teasing that happened in the 70s, you know, like where it wasn't always the nicest kind of teasing, but you knew deep under that, well, he's only teasing me because he knows he can, because we're family, and he, you know, and I'm not going to be overly hurt by it. Yeah, people don't tease like that so much anymore. But yeah, that was where so then I made a song about him, because I thought, well, right, I'm gonna write a song about Toivo Two Feathers. And in the lyrics, I say he's our patron saint Findian. Um, because there's a lot of Findians, and come to find out, Toivo Two Feathers was something that other people said too. Like in the UP, there's a lot of Findians. And yeah, so.
Thanks. I mean, and that entire album is quite a bit about kind of those two heritages that you say you kind of live as one.
Yeah, it was I was inspired to do it, you know, really because of FinFest. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go. It was over at Marquette that year, and I thought I should bring some merch. I don't have any merch, right? So I quick recorded those songs and made a CD back when we had CDs, you know, that was like a thing. And so I did that, and that was when I met Faith Fjeld with the Sami. When I pulled up on campus at Marquette and I saw the lavu, I was like, what is that? Why is there a teepee here? You know, I was like, oh. So when I checked out the teepee and I met Faith, and she gave me a tour, I was like blown. My mind was just, because I knew somewhat superficially about Sami people, but I hadn't really done that much, you know, educating myself about it until that point. And yeah, that was really a pivotal moment in my Findian experience.
Thanks. Yeah, and so you've mentioned, and you can blame this a little bit on me from the beginning, but we have a question about coming to America, right? And the interaction, sometimes good, sometimes quite not good, between the indigenous peoples and the Finnish people. And you've talked a lot about the ancestors and place and feeling of belonging and all this. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about, I mean, this is a tough question, but about some of the push and pull there, the difficult aspects of that relationship. And you hinted a little bit with, you know, some of the teasing and that, but I'd be interesting to hear some of that from you as well.
Sure. There's a song that I don't think it's on that Indian Summer album. I can't remember where I recorded it, but I call it, it's Red and White Blues. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. If you YouTube Liz Jaakola, Red and White Blues. And growing up in the middle of the reservation, being fair-skinned compared to my browner cousins, and browner than my Finnish cousins, you know, like visibly there's like something right away that people could, you know, point out, or the things that they could, you know, point out as a difference. But then kind of feeling marginalized, even in these marginalized communities, because you know, Finns in Minnesota didn't have it so easy either. And when they arrived, it was after most of the good farmland was already taken, right? And that's how they ended up in the getting the allotted portions of the reservations, because that was what it was available at the time. And it was mostly swamp or adjacent to swamp. But coming from Finland, that was not so foreign, right? Like, oh yeah, we know how to work with this land. And so, you know, having these two groups living, you know, working together, living together, wasn't always easy. My dad, he doesn't talk about it very much, but he talked a couple of times about, you know, getting beat up because he was, you know, the Finnish guy living on the reservation. And yet there must have been some hope left in him that he married my mom, you know, that not all Indians were going to beat him up. And vice versa, you know, there's this there still remains, some kind of challenges, between groups, and mistrust, and especially as we navigate through this chapter of America struggling with, racism and anti-racism, and how do we acknowledge those things in our world, our experience, that I am somebody who experiences white privilege, and depending on where I'm at, I can pass. And so I recognize that is a privilege, whereas other people might not even think of it. They might think, well, it's just, normal daily life. I'm like, no, this is pretty, I know that my native relatives who are browner would not have the same experience in this place that I am having, and vice versa. When I'm in my tribal community, because I'm lighter, there's less trust there sometimes, even less. Like I said, I'm a baby elder, right? So elders are to be given a certain acknowledgement or space, even, respect. And because I might be perceived as a white person when I'm in that circle, I might not get that same kind of, reaction to myself. And in my community here, because people know me, and because the Jaakola name is pretty solid at Fond du Lac, I'll just say that. My auntie, who married my dad's brother, she's also Ojibwe, and she used to teach language at the middle school, teach Ojibwe language at the middle school back in the 70s. And so, and of course, then my family, we're all helpers. This has been our heritage, is to be community helpers. Who knows if it came from the Finnish part of our, experience, or from the Ojibwe, or both, or coming together. Like my mom's family worked in the healthcare field. I was like the black sheep because I took education. And in my dad's family, they were all, like farming, and my dad's like super smart inventor. Like, he's still inventing, 82 years old. He just got something on the market. He showed it to me. I'm like, what's this, Pa? And he showed me. It was had to do with heating up a caulk gun, like when you're caulking and you can't, it gets cold and then it freezes up. Well, he's made a little thing, a little sleeve, a little caulk gun sweater. And anyway, like, so it's about helping people, and that is my heritage, and so is that because we were marginalized peoples in marginalized societies that we realized like we need to, help each other all through this? Maybe. Is it just human nature that we want to help each other? Hopefully, yeah. And you take the good with the bad. At my age now, I can say that. It was pretty hurtful when I was a kid. It made me, feel bad about myself in some ways when when people would call me names or whatever. But I developed a thick skin, and I guess I learned fairly early, like, okay, that's not really about me. That's them. That's their own stuff that they're working through. And go ahead and call me whatever you want. I won't say some of the other names I was called.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it feels unfortunately still very relevant, right? With what's going on in the news, as you've mentioned several times now. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's super important to hear and to remember and to think about, I think. We have another question about sort of, I suppose, related to your work also as a children's book author. But are there books? Are there novels? Are there other kind of creative works that speak to the experience of Finnish Americans and Indigenous people, or Finnishinaabe, for example, that you know about and that you kind of work with and think about and kind of share with others?
I'm trying to think. That book I wrote was about 20 years ago, and that was it was kind of a gift. They asked me if I would do that, and I said, yeah. And I write songs, so like writing poetry, or, in the style for it was for young people, for like 0 to 3, that was the target market there. And so writing repetition and, you know, basic kind of things, that's kind of what songwriting is. So it fit for me. And then I haven't really followed up on it. I have a few things sitting on my desk, of course. I'm like, should I ever do something? I don't know. But, you know, it requires time and commitment that I don't know if I have at this time, maybe when I retire. But I was thinking about Louise Erdrich. Her books are about from Ojibwe perspective, but she talks about the various different you know, others that came here at, you know, it depends on which book it is, and I'm not thinking like directly about anyone. But then Lynn Laitala, she was married to Carl Gaboy. I don't know when, but she's an author as well. And I know I've read some of her things. This was a while ago, but it's not so much for kids, maybe young adult. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you just planted a seed for me, like, hey, there's my niche.
There you go. That's awesome. I think people are really excited though and interested in thinking about how to learn more about you know, the experiences of Indigenous peoples interacting with Finnish people, and then the Finnishinaabe and Finnian and all that comes with that. So thank you for sharing those. That's fantastic. Yeah, so someone here down from Basswood.
Yeah, down from Basswood. I was just thinking, this book I have behind me is not, this is a great book though. It was just recognized like nationally. This is not anything Finnish, but water protectors. And then this book is about the Josephine Mandamin, who is a water walker. She passed on now a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago. But it's about water walking tradition. And I'm going on a water walk. We're water walking the Willow River at the end of next week, carrying the water and singing to the water, and and I know, like, because Finland is so much water. When I went over to Ukkoniemi, I was just like in heaven. Like, this is so, because it's just water. But we were out on this little peninsula that was like a little island almost, and we were surrounded by beautiful water. And that's another thing that we're all connected by. Like, every breath I take, you know, has water in it that's been here since time immeasurable. And other beings have breathed or drank, or, you know, like, so we're all connected by that element. And I think people who live right there with water all the time, we take it for granted. Like, yeah, of course, this is how we're connected. But other people don't necessarily think that. Now that I'm saying this, so this region here, CNN just identified Duluth as like a climate refugee destination. I bet the same thing is happening in Finland.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. That's interesting. I heard about the Duluth being recognized as a climate refugee spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, you know, someone mentioned here that sauna is a way to connect with water as well. That there are these different connections. So that's fantastic.
Yep, the sauna and the sweat lodge, those traditions. I would sauna with my Finnish relatives when I was a kid, you know, and then go jump in the lake or roll in the snow, or, you know, or wherever we were. And then I learned about sweat lodge later. And I was like, oh, this is like a sauna, you know, but you know, there's a few differences, but yeah. And people, I mean, this is part of I think the original instructions about how to take care of your body, you know, like, right. And so we, as we have generations later, now we have, you know, showers and, or we have a sauna in the house, you know, or whatever, but yeah, it's a way that we connect. Yeah. Hey, Marlene, I see Marlene just made a comment. Yes, black berries and blueberries. Miigwech,
That's awesome.
Marlene.
And someone, this isn't so much a question, but I think it's a comment that's really really lovely and worth sharing. Someone writes that about their own family and their parents meeting, and their the family stories and experiences and histories that they have, and says that you've really encouraged them to write this down while they still remember, and just how personally uplifting it was. So I think it's a good reminder when you are talking about the ancestors, when you're talking about the place where we are, where we've been, and where we're going, that we all have these connections, and that we can all make these connections and continue to engage with those connections and build those, and remember them in our own personal way. So just a really lovely comment. So I appreciate that person sharing that.
That makes me think about, like people ask, is it how is it common that the Finnish people would get along with the native people? And I think some of it has to do with our nonverbals. We really both cultures value quiet, value silence, and acknowledging personal space and autonomy. Those are things that are common, I think, in both branches of my family. This is something I realized when I was over in Finland, where it wasn't so uncomfortable for me that we would be like in this busy place and people weren't necessarily all very, very loud and rambunctious, and people coming up and touching you. And so when social isolation came around, I'm like, no, this is good. This comes naturally to me. All this 6 feet of space, thank you. This is what but I think it's true, and this is a common commonality. There's those jokes about how do you know when a Finnish person is being forward with you? It's because they're looking at your shoes instead of their own, or something. I'm no good at remembering those kind of things, but and in how we communicate, just saying what is necessary, not necessarily a lot of small talk is not a big of course these are generalizations, and of course we all know somebody that goes against this statement, but generally that small talk is not a highly valued skill in Finnish culture or Ojibwe culture. And when people are overly verbal, that we tend to kind of back up a little, like, oh, okay, all right. So I know you wouldn't believe that, because here's me, chatty Cathy here, but in my natural habitat, when I'm not presenting, I'm pretty shy. I'm hanging back, I'm observing, I'm learning a lot from the nonverbal interactions that they tell, they cue me a lot. And I think that's something that is a common trait for both cultures.
Thanks, Liz. We've got a few more minutes here if people want to ask a couple last minute questions. I'd like to say I've just really appreciated people as people kind of think about some last minute questions. I really appreciate this entire presentation and performance. It's just been really wonderful to be thinking about all these different things. I think one of the things that's so important to remember here, especially, well, I say especially in the Upper Midwest because that's where I am, but that we can't necessarily tell the story of Nordic immigration to the United States without also telling the story about indigeneity and the people that were here and the people that are still here. So thinking about how these connections are made, what those connections mean, what they meant and what they mean today, and how we're continuing to work with all this, I think is just such an important part of who we are as, I was born in Sweden and moved here. Who I am as kind of a Swedish American, but who we are as Nordic Americans, who we are as Upper Midwesterners, in our in our own place. So again, I just really appreciate the thoughtful discussion. I appreciate the thoughtful questions from everyone, and just seeing how important this story, your story, is, and how it's representative of a much bigger story that we're all a part of. So I very much appreciate that. I don't know if we've got any last minute questions. I'll stop talking here for a minute or two.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to kind of concertize from my home office at the beginning of COVID, and all of the we didn't know it was, how to handle it, and we didn't know what to do. And definitely as musicians and performers, everyone was like suddenly putting on the brakes. I had so many gigs lined up that I was looking forward to. One of them was going to Finland. One of them was singing at Ridu Ridu over in Tromsø in Norway. Like, we finally, like, I feel like I'd worked my whole career to get there, and then nope, can't go. And I was really feeling that was heavy on me. And also then the local stuff that I do, I go into schools and I do presentations, in elementary classrooms, and none of that can happen. So when people do reach out and ask me to do this kind of work, I'm really excited about it, even though I'm still kind of awkward with the whole thing, because it's not a steady gig, to do it. It's like every now and then, but doing it is meaningful for me as well. So thank you.
Do you have any do you have any gigs coming up? We're starting to see more. We're starting to see some places go more to live music. Do you have anything planned for the fall, or?
Well, yeah. So just that the Anishinaabe event over at Big Top Chautauqua, that one, and we're still trying to figure out what that really is like. But my hand drum group. So I have a women's group called Oshki Girik Singers, and we released a CD, because we're old school like that, in December 2019, and then had hoped to kind of like, tour it, I guess, but then that didn't happen. But we have been singing at a couple of different events lately, with masks and, social distance. And so I anticipate more of that will happen. And, myself personally, I don't know. I don't know. So I teach college, and so we're just wrapping up the semester here, and that's going to be weighing heavy on my mind. I'm especially during COVID. I go like day to day in my mental calendar. I used to be able to, go a few weeks ahead and be like, okay, this is coming up, but now it's just like, well, what's coming up this afternoon? So I thought maybe I have some stuff out there that I'm doing. I did a event for Native Roots Radio. They just did an online event, and this is maybe my, I don't know, but my character flaws or a charming thing, we'll see, is make myself vulnerable. So they asked me to do a song, and I didn't know exactly what they wanted. So I recorded a song with my family. I have a family band. Through COVID necessity, we've been playing music out of our basement and putting on Facebook Live. And what we do is we do remixes of songs, and usually it's about coronavirus experiences, like having to wear masks, wash your hands. We did one like MC Hammer's You Can't Touch Us, but it was You Can't Touch Your Face. And so my husband and I dressed up like rappers, like old people. Well, anyway, so we were like DJ Mindamuye, which means old lady, and then MC Aki Wenze, which means old man. And so anyway, it was a whole ridiculous thing. My kids are so embarrassed, but but we did You Can't Touch Your Face. So what we did for this Line 3 thing, we sent them a remix of Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb, but we called it Uncomfortably Numb. And it was a little trippy dippy kind of thing. Anyway, they didn't even use it. They're like, Liz, that we were hoping you would do a hand drum song. So I was like, oh, sorry. I said, we had fun though, because we shot video, we like, I edited this video, and it's not pretty. It's not like, fancy editing software. I was using iMovie and, but anyway, yeah. And so those kind of things, if you want to Facebook friend me, you might catch a odd being the keyword here, performance every now and then.
That sounds amazing, though. That sounds absolutely amazing. We have one last question here, and it's an old school question. Where can people get your CDs?
Yeah. So I think a couple of my CDs have made their way into various sites that other people are getting money for them. Yeah, I don't, I don't know about that. And you know, you can find, I don't know, email me, message me. I could send stuff out. I have a stockpile of stuff here that when I get around to remembering to send them, I will send them. And if I don't send them fast enough, like email me again or Facebook message me, because I'm juggling a lot of things, and I need somebody to do that kind of work, but you have to pay those people. So I haven't figured out how to get my kids to become my agent.
Great. We will, so when we send out the link to this presentation, the recording of this presentation, we'll go ahead and include some of that information so that people can do that.
Thanks.
All right. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for this fantastic presentation. Again, Kiitos Miigwech for this really wonderful presentation, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.